Nick's devotion to this case and advocacy for Evynn and Tasha did seem to come with some ulterior motives, so it made sense that Mo would call him out on it. However, we also know that Nick is always passionate about his patients. New line. Kudos to him for coming up with a solution ripped from Bible tales that involved them splitting the liver. New line. Essentially, they got 2 for the price of 1, saving 2 lives because livers regenerate. It was too big for Lisa, and Tasha only needed so much of it. New line. It's a happy ending for everyone, and Evynn apologizes to Mer, who showed a level of grace far superior to my own after all of that, and Catherine is still pissed, but she'll probably get over it. New line. Mer and Webber even made up, which is nice because it always sucks when they're fighting. New line. The entire messy case paid off when Nick and Mer had an honest discussion about the events of that day. New line. Mer assumed that when Nick looked at Tasha, he thought about Meredith. After all, Tasha was a woman who started suffering from Alzheimer's brutally young, and it's a sobering reality that he and Mer could face the same fate. New line. But he elaborated that it was more of a matter of him seeing himself in Evynn and knowing that he would move heaven and earth to get Mer whatever she needed because he loves her that much. New line. Presumably, he's so accustomed to Mer going rogue that her abiding by the rules this time threw him off. But the fact that he could relate to Evynn so much lit a fire under him more than usual. New line. Does anyone actually care about Molly and Quan? I struggle to get invested in their love story. New line. She clouds his judgment all of the time, and their history doesn't translate well because we barely know either character as it is. New line. The old interns used to do outrageous things like underground surgery clubs, where they performed operations. Sometimes, I forget how cute Mer and Nick are as a couple. New line. Surprisingly, we had a healthy dose of the pair during Grey's Anatomy Season 21 Episode 11, which put them at odds over a liver and brought up the reality of what their lives could hold in the future. New line. One thing that remains pleasantly consistent about the series is its devotion to exploring Alzheimer's and its weight on Mer and others. New line. Sometimes, I forget how cute Mer and Nick are as a couple. New line. Surprisingly, we had a healthy dose of the pair during Grey's Anatomy Season 21 Episode 11, which put them at odds over a liver and brought up the reality of what their lives could hold in the future. New line. One thing that remains pleasantly consistent about the series is its devotion to exploring Alzheimer's and its weight on Mer and others. New line. She put everything and everyone in jeopardy, which meant the board had to decide if Tasha could get the liver after everything Evynn pulled. Shockingly, her declining health and mental state weren't a mitigating factor in that decision. New line. But Bailey and Ben's patient, Lisa, also desperately needed a liver and was a match, which resulted in a race for the board to decide hopes of saving someone's life. New line. Evynn's audacity during all of this was astounding. She did entirely way too much, so the thought that she'd lash out at everyone, make assumptions, and then get mad that someone else could get the liver was too much for me. New line. She also behaved as if no one else had experience with Alzheimer's and had lost their touch, ability to understand the plight and compassion. New line. Evynn quickly assumed that Mer was too buried in her patients and research that she lost sight of seeing people as humans with lives deserving of second chances. New line. On paper, it made sense to give the liver to Lisa, but neither Evynn nor Nick were having it. Ever since Meredith left Grey Sloan Memorial in Grey's Anatomy Season 18, she was seldom at the center of the story, but the actions of a patient's career in Grey's Anatomy Season 21 stressfully brought Meredith back to it. Meredith leaving Seattle for Boston to help Zola's anxiety and study Alzheimer's was the perfect leaving story for her. Indeed, her intentions were good, as Meredith was doing what was best for Zola, and was studying the illness that took so much from Meredith and her family, effectively hinting at the possibility of Grey's Anatomy's ending positively when the time comes. New line. New line. After Grey Sloan's doctor's trip to Boston for the Catherine Fox Awards and Meredith's research's bombshell revelations in Grey's Anatomy Season 19's ending, Meredith's Alzheimer's research and the lofty goal of curing it became Meredith's main story in Grey's Anatomy. Between Amelia and Meredith's findings and continuing their research against Catherine's wishes, it only became bigger, and Meredith and Catherine's fight over it in Grey's Anatomy Season 21's premiere proved it's still the case. However, Tasha and Evynn's story brought Meredith back to the story center in Grey's Anatomy not through her research, but by hinting at something much darker. New line. Evynn hiding Tasha's Alzheimer's diagnosis from the team at Grey Sloan Memorial led by Meredith and Nick nearly cost Tasha the liver after they discovered it and realized the transplant committee had approved Tasha as the patient to receive the liver under false pretenses. How advanced Tasha's Alzheimer's was rattled many, especially Meredith and Nick, but Evynn and Tasha being at Grey Sloan Memorial might have also provided Meredith and Amelia with the missing piece to restart their research at last, after they had spent their time since Grey's Anatomy Season 21's premiere looking for grants to fund the Indeed, after Nick advocated for Tasha and called Amelia for a consult, she confirmed the diagnosis, but Amelia also revealed how studying patients diagnosed earlier than most could have provided more answers about the illness. Meredith and Amelia not being able to find funding to continue the research, coupled with a patient that could help them understand Alzheimer's more clearly, and the fact Catherine introduced Evynn and Tasha to them could finally reunite them all under one roof, studying Alzheimer's like in the beginning, using the Fox Foundation's funding, something Jackson wanted and suggested in Grey's Anatomy Season 21's premiere. New line. Learning about Tasha's Alzheimer's diagnosis visibly upset Nick and Meredith in Grey's Anatomy Season 21, leading the former to advocate for Tasha, while Meredith tried to do right by those waiting for a transplant by having the transplant committee decide again on the case. Meredith seemingly reacted to the news by sticking to the facts, like saying how life expectancy would be considered, but it was evident Meredith was affected by Tasha's case, both by how advanced Tasha's Alzheimer's already was and by Evynn accusing her of not caring about the patient, only seeing them as parts of a study. New line. Meredith's devotion to studying Alzheimer's was always personal because she knew what the illness did to patients, having seen it in Ellis. Evynn accusing Meredith of not seeing Tasha as a patient hurt because that was never the case for Meredith, and also because it would be difficult not to see Tasha's tragic present in Meredith's future, especially as Tasha was a leader in her field, just like Meredith. With Grey's Anatomy Season 9 confirming that Meredith tested positive for several genetic markers for Alzheimer's, seeing its effects on Tasha was yet another reminder of what Meredith's future could be. New line. Tasha's story thus worked as a reminder of what the stakes for Meredith and Amelia's study are, for patients at large and Meredith specifically, as the likelihood of her getting Alzheimer's was already established relatively early in Grey's Anatomy. The focus on the immediate need of Meredith's research in Grey's Anatomy Season 21 thus put the titular character back at the center of Grey's Anatomy's story. This is true whether Grey's Anatomy pursues Meredith's big story as solely her Alzheimer's research or her diagnosis too, which would put even more pressure on Meredith and Amelia to understand the